Now, Dr. Phil has some words to say. He says Dr. Phil says Duke University professors call for 14 trillion in reparations, which would land 350,000 to every Black American descendant of slaves, would be an absolute disaster for the nation. First thing I saw when I saw Dr. Phil talking about it, I was like, Dr. Phil talking about reparations. Although I don't know if he's talked about it before. 'Cause I ain't watched Dr. Phil in forever. When the last time you watched Dr. Phil? Have we ever?
I've never watched Dr. Phil unless it was like something that went viral.
Yeah, that's probably the. Right, I probably never sat down
Why
watch
would
Dr.
you?
Phil. Huh?
Why would you?
I mean, you watch some of the other daytime Maury and all that shit. I mean, what's the difference?
How you not watch Maury?
Because everybody watch Maury. Stop it. But anyway, Dr. Phil on Tuesday invited a Duke University economics professor, William Darity, on his show. The discussion turned to reparations, and the professor called for a 14 trillion handout, 350,000 for each of the 40 million people whose ancestors were slaves. Dr. Phil said a lump sum will be an absolute disaster, recommending instead guidance and help in creating generational wealth. We just talked about all that. The television host on Tuesday invited. We know they already suggested. We know.
George, why you always got to shit on Dr. Umar Johnson? Doctor Who? He's just as important as Umar. His name is Dr. Umar. Have some respect.
Dr. Phil challenged Darity's plan, arguing that people would mismanage the money. I can tell you from a psychological perspective that if you take $350,000 or $840,000 and you write a check to any group of people, black, white, poor, homeless, whatever, you give any group of people that much money and say, there you go, best of luck. You come back 6 months and they'll be broke, he said. Well, we heard it all the time. You think there's any validity to that
statement? Stop calling it a handout. The money is owed.
Exactly. Do you think there's any validity to that statement that he said right here? When he said, if you give anybody money, a bulk of money, regardless of their race or background, you come back 6 months later, they will be broke.
That's not for everybody.
But we've heard that from a whole bunch of people.
Within that's just the black way to say we're not gonna give you the money because you're not able with it. Yeah.
You think
it's a cop out for not wanting to give you your damn.
When I say valid, do you think it has any truth to it, or do you think it's
somewhat truth? But that doesn't mean that people should not be able to get their money. They are allowed to do what they want to do with it.
Is it the community's money or their money? That's a whole other topic. Should reparations be paid to the community as a whole, or should it be to the individual?
Lord, what's wrong with him? Meet Lord Gino Martin. Lord. Goddamn, keep arrest my case. Bob Kraft knows what the hoes at. Tifa.
He said
last time I watched was with that Catch Me Out.
I was just thinking that in my head. Last time I saw a clip was from that situation.
Because that's what made him pop.
It's this side right here. Oh. just fuck it up, ain't it?
I think there's some validity to it.
I mean, it is. But should it deter us from wanting it? Why didn't he question the Ukrainians?
Because he's not going to.
They never do. The same way they never even need a study for anybody else.
No. Why didn't he question the tiny hats that continues to get money from the U.S.?
Because they own the network. They probably own the damn network.
They probably do. Money of the black Americans born in America was slaves.
They family
tree.
They wanted to go to particular people, I guess. That's where you get the boule and all that from. That those talking points. They believe it should go to one organization that disperses it or uses it throughout the community what they figure the proper way. You think that's the proper? You think that's the way to do it? Instead of giving it to people, give it to the community that goes into an organization and they decide where it goes.
No, you give it to the people, and the people decide how they choose and want to spend and invest and do with their money.
I keep saying if they give it to you, got to go.
Well, I think most black people ain't a problem.
You won't even answer the question if you would leave. You still won't answer that question. All right, let's move forward.
Why didn't they question the Southern wives of the Confederacy that continue to give reparations till this day?
They don't have no questions for them. Let me this video. Ooh. So this is the clip of him saying it.
Look what George said. Right. If black was given reparations on earth, why go to heaven? That's crazy.
Well, some people, there's a belief amongst some people that heaven and hell is not a place. It is a condition. So right now, while this is black people's hell, this will be white people's heaven.
The struggle wouldn't be real. Oh, Tifa.
What are the Chinese doing? But they in the background, prepared to take over everything like always. They've been waiting for the last 20 years.
It's too
Too much like white to treat blacks like white. Hey, what's that movie
we should
Django?
consider what other communities are doing and possibly use their techniques, Kifa.
Well, Asian people doing what George talked about earlier. They using packs to buy politicians.
Brilliantly flawed. They don't do black people in any way, shape, or form globally. They've never given black people money.
But back to what George said when he said treating white people treating black people white is impossible. Remember that movie Django when Jamie was on the horse and and name the older who played the coon?
Samuel Jackson.
Samuel Jackson said, not Samuel Jackson, but somebody asked, he free? He on a horse and all that stuff. He's like, how do I treat him? He said, treat him like a free man. He said, you mean like a white man? And he looked at him, no. So even a free black man wasn't a white man. So even in that movie, yeah, that was funny. Civil rights activist says he doesn't support reparations for black Americans, need to look toward future. Should reparations be given to black Americans? Some people claim that the way to solve the huge disparities in race caused by black enslavement in America is to pay compensations in the form of money, homes, or land to address the harm. However, some critics say today's generation shouldn't have to pay for something they didn't do. Bob Woodson, civil rights activist and author of Red, White, and Black, Rescuing American History from Revisionists and Race Hustlers, and Lessons from the Least of these, says he does not support reparations. When you go into slavery, it's much more complex than white people were the oppressors and black people were the victims. Adding to the 3,700 free blacks who owned 12,000 black slaves, blacks really benefited more from the first 100 years of slavery than we have in the last 50 years. Wilson says Americans must look beyond solutions saying that the blacks only benefit if whites lose. We have to we have to be defined more than just victims of oppression. When whites were at their worst, blacks were at their best. That's the point. Now, I'm not a person that says anything or believe in the idea of equality. It doesn't exist. What's that saying that I hear Stephen A. Smith say all the time? A fair is a place they judge pigs. Yes, then when black people are at their best, white people are going to be at their worst. That's always going to be happening. Not just white people, but in general, you can only have one king. You only have one kingdom that's dominant over
Only
everybody
one
else.
leading class.
Exactly. You can't have everybody equal because it's natural to be
There's no
partial to your
equality in the
own.
Bible.
Huh?
There's no equality in the Bible.
No,
there's always a top ranking.
It's always natural to be partial to your own people.
Even amongst the tribes, there's
levels.
ranked.
Like it is what it is. Like
So,
and that's a civil rights activist saying that. So we got a lot of digging to do. Say it like that. Descendant of slavery says her family received reparations and it changed the course of their lives.
that's speaking to George's point.
So this woman right here, she was a descendant of slaves. She said her family did get it, and it obviously had an impact on them. I have a very strong feelings when it comes to reparations because my family received a form of reparations. Patrice says her great-great-grandmother Florence was born a slave to a white slave owner father 6 months before the Emancipation Proclamation. She says that when Florence got married, her father helped her buy 40 acres of land, and my family got reparations from my great-great-grandfather Ephraim Payton Jr., Patrice says. This property has been passed down and has remained in my family for over 4 generations. The land that we've inherited has kept my family together through generations, which is not typical for a lot of Black American families. Without this property, my family wouldn't have a leg to stand on. Hear more of Patrice's story in the video above. So that was just us giving her story of because they got that land, they was able to keep a certain level of wealth in their family.
Generational wealth. Regina, if you believe stats, black people spend in trillions, so that argument is weak. If you can believe.
That's another people that make an argument against that. Are we really that big of a spending group, or are they just lying? We don't know because they got the numbers. We can guess, we can do our own research, but
he is the epitome of Travis. This is sad for him to make money on the backs to pander to whites and oppress the bag that was made off the black whips that whipped black
backs.
George still taking shots. Bring your ass, George. Come back up here.
Nah. We don't want to do that right now. Get him again next time we go do this.
Before the show ends, come back up here, George.
We'll get him after that. We got one more little segment we're gonna do, and then we can come back up here.
He can't help but take shots.
Everything you need to know about the state of the Black World Conference. Here's everything you need to know about the state of the Black World Conference. There's a conference going on in Baltimore. Go ahead.
Greenlee Floyd said, "Move like Asians. Ever see them pumping gas, Walmart, grocery store, etc. by a politician and law enforcement? We fail at that."
That's what I thought. I thought if Black Lives Matter was serious, that's what they would have did, and that's what I thought the ADOS, FBA, Freeman stuff is going to turn into, buying politicians. But like I said, it just didn't go that way.